Big Podcast.
It's Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. David Hooper with you. Bigpodcast.com is the website. The new book, the second edition of the old book, Big Podcast, has just been released. Old pricing is still available, $10.95 at Amazon. I don't know how they do it, but they do. It's 463 pages. It is big. It is everything you need to know to grow a big podcast, keep people interested in your podcast, make money with your podcast. Bigpodcast.com/book has more information. Second edition. I don't know how long this pricing is going to last. That's left over from the first edition. Anyway, if you're interested, go check it out. Bigpodcast.com/book. If you've already got the first one, don't worry about this. There's more new stuff coming out soon. But if you don't already have this book, get it. It's worth it, especially for the inexpensive $10.95 price that they are selling it for now. On this episode, I'm talking about the Satanic Temple. I joined the Satanic Temple today, and I got an email. It says, "Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Satanic Temple. Our beliefs, 7 fundamental tenets. 1, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. 2, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. 3, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. 4, the freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. 5, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care to never distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. 6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. 7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word." That's like any religious organization. If you go to your local Christian church, you pull up the website, they will have something that says, "Our beliefs," or "what we believe." I could have easily read something from the non-denominational or Baptist church. It would have been something very similar, a different set of beliefs, but a statement of belief. What we believe. And if you believe like they do, come on in. If you don't believe like they do, go somewhere else. I bring this up to say this. Your podcast needs its own set of beliefs. You need to be telling people, this is what we believe, your own version of the 10 Commandments. If you subscribe to this podcast, here's what you can expect. Here's the worldview. Here's what I believe. Here's what I think happens when I do this. Here's why I recommend doing that. Being very specific about your beliefs, your worldview, flying that flag, letting people know what to expect when they come to you. Don't give them any surprises. Let them know what to expect and then deliver it to them. I'm listening to this biography of Rush Limbaugh right now. I'm going to mention this in a future episode. I don't want to go too deep into it right now because it might take me off track of this Satanic Temple message that I got. But Rush's philosophy was basically this. You knew what you were getting. He was preaching to the choir. He was not trying to turn liberals into conservatives. He was trying to let conservatives know that it was okay to be conservative. That was what he did, preaching to the choir. If you ever listen to him take calls, and he didn't take many calls, he was on 3 hours a day. "Oh, Rush Limbaugh here." And he was just talking. "Oh, Mr. Snerdley's just informed me." He didn't take many calls, but when he did, it was somebody agreeing with him. What did Rush Limbaugh listeners say? "Megadittos, Rush." They knew what the deal was, and they were calling to agree with him. That was it. We like to think that we can change the hearts and minds of people. And yeah, you can sometimes, but the first thing you do to do that is you show up, you let people know what you believe. You give them the equivalent of this, the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple, or whatever your tenets are. The 7 fundamental tenets of Build a Big Podcast. I actually looked this up because I've got this coming out in my new book. I call it the Church of Big Podcast because this is what we see in any kind of belief system. And it is a church, not a real church, but there is a fundamental belief of the people who listen to me and read the books like Big Podcast and these other books that I've got coming out, believe. But like the Rush Limbaugh thing, that is a completely different episode. I will get into these things on additional episodes, I promise you. But if you want them now, I've got a mailing list at bigpodcast.com. And if you go to bigpodcast.com and you sign up for that mailing list, I will send you a podcast growth kit. Within that growth kit, you will get a document. I call them the Red Rules, named after Red Podcast, but they are rules for podcasters. Again, you can see them by going to bigpodcast.com and signing up for the list. You want something similar for your podcast. You're not trying to convince people. You are not in the convincing business. You are in the business of planting your flag, showing up, and letting the people that agree with you know that you exist. Consider that. Bigpodcast.com, that's the website. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you can do it there. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe. If you go to that page, I've got 3 buttons for you. One for Android, one for iPhone, one is an old-fashioned RSS feed. So however you get your podcasts, I can deliver these episodes to you free and as soon as they come out. One click is all it takes. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Thank you for listening to Build a Big Podcast. I'll see you on the next episode.